I'd seen a lot in my life, but nothing prepares you for watching a grown man and HOA president, no less, get dragged away in handcuffs while his son bawls on the pavement. All of it started with a slap. One stupid, arrogant slap across my daughter's face in the cafeteria. 30 seconds later, the boy who hit her was crying on the floor. By sundown, his parents were next. My name's Jim Bowman. I'm a simple guy, a dad who fixes things when they break. We moved into Oak Meadows thinking it'd be quiet, friendly, normal. My wife, Dana, runs her life on color-coded spreadsheets, and my daughter, Tiffany, well, she's sharper than a tack and twice as fast. First day at her new high school, she clocked the local royalty in about 5 seconds flat. Chad Abernathy, son of Richard and Karen Abernathy, the self-appointed king and queen of this beige little HOA kingdom. At lunch that day, Chad was shaking down some kid for lunch money, real old-school bully stuff. Tiffany didn't scream or make a scene. She just said loud enough for a few tables to hear, "Wow, haven't seen a shakedown that clumsy since my dad tried IKEA furniture." The table erupted. Chad turned crimson. He stomped over, chest puffed out, his two little shadows trailing behind him. "You think you're funny, new girl?" he barked. Tiffany took a slow bite of her apple, chewed, swallowed, then said, "Funnier than you, and that's a low bar." He didn't know how to handle being laughed at. He ordered her to stand up. She said, "I am on self-respect. You should try it." And that's when he snapped. The slap came fast and sloppy, echoed through the cafeteria. The whole place froze. Tiffany turned back to him, ice in her eyes. "Nice swing," she said. "Cameras love angles." The vice principal dragged them both off. The school called it a peer-to-peer conflict. Chad got a 3-day suspension. My daughter got a pink slip. I wanted to tear that office apart, but Dana put a hand on my arm and whispered, "Not here. Not yet." We thought that was the end of it. A dumb kid, a weak school, one bad day. We were wrong. That slap wasn't the end of something, it was the beginning. That night, a crisp cream envelope slid through our mail slot. No welcome basket, just a $200 fine for unapproved house number font. The signature at the bottom read, "Richard Abernathy, President." It wasn't about numbers. It was about control. Then came the next hit. Around 11 that same night, our doorbell cam pinged. On the feed there he was, Chad himself, sneaking up to our porch with a can of spray paint. He scrawled something across our walkway, kicked one of our pumpkins, flipped the camera off, and ran. I downloaded the footage, backed it up 3 times, and sent it straight to Richard in the morning. It was open and shut proof, or so I thought. By sunrise, the narrative had flipped. Karen Abernathy, the queen herself, posted a community warning on the HOA Facebook page with a doctored clip spliced from a neighbor's camera. It showed the graffiti on our walkway. Then, cut to Tiffany coming home from school like she was admiring her handiwork. They edited out Chad completely. Within hours, our neighbors were calling my kid a vandal. The same people who'd smiled at us 3 days ago were now posting some families just don't fit our community standards. I can't describe that kind of rage. The cold, helpless kind. I wanted to storm their house, to shout, to break something, but Dana. She was calm. "Let them lie," she said. "We'll build truth." She started archiving everything, every post, every comment, every like. She pulled the raw doorbell file, preserved the metadata, and saved the edited video for comparison. They think lies move faster, she told me. That's only true if the truth stands still. So we fought back in silence our way. I handled the petty side. Changed our mailbox font to the most absurdly legal serif I could find, so curly it looked handwritten by spiders. Dana tracked everything. Tiffany sat on the porch with her camera snapping photos of the board members whenever they taped fines to our door. Even our son Grant started cutting the front curb grass with scissors to match HOA height codes exactly. Every notice they sent we answered with compliance and sarcasm. They fined our grass for being too green one day and too dry the next. I wanted to sue, but Dana pointed out the fine print all disputes had to go through approved arbitration run by the HOA, of course. A trap. Then came the real bomb. A certified letter. Emergency special assessment, it said $10,000 per household for a clubhouse roof repair. No vote, no notice. Pay in 30 days or face foreclosure. It was signed unanimously by Richard and his cronies. I felt something inside me break. 10 grand wasn't a fine, it was an eviction notice dressed in legal language. For a while, I spiraled. I remember sitting in the dark living room that night, head in my hands, thinking maybe they were right. Maybe we didn't belong. Maybe moving was easier than fighting a rigged system. Dana found me like that. She didn't say anything at first, just sat beside me, slid her notebook across the coffee table. On it was a list. Previous homeowners, sudden move-outs. Property buyer, Vance Development, LLC. She looked at me. It's a pattern. That's when the switch flipped. The despair turned to purpose. We started digging. County record sale histories, HOA newsletters, even cached Facebook posts. One by one, the pieces fell into place. Families were fined into desperation, then bought out for pennies by Vance Development. The owner, Arthur Vance, was Richard's golf buddy. They were flipping whole streets, carving a corridor of cheap properties toward the lake. A private real estate grab disguised as community enforcement. We decided to turn the scam against them. Dana wrote the perfect bait email, polite, defeated, desperate. With all these fines and now the assessment, we're not sure we can afford to live here anymore. 2 days later, Vance emailed back offering to help ease our transition with a fast cash buyout. The arrogance was almost insulting. Dana played the part of the overwhelmed wife flawlessly. She spoke with him on speakerphone while I listened, her voice trembling just enough. "It's just so much money," she said. That assessment really blindsided us. And Vance, thinking he was talking to easy prey, leaned right in. Between us, he said smoothly, "Richard runs a tight ship. We have a vision for this neighborhood. Some folks just don't fit." Every word was recorded. Every dollar of his $10,000 deposit was marked with UV ink and logged by serial number. We weren't victims anymore, we were witnesses building a case. The final act was set for the annual HOA meeting. Richard stood at his podium like a proud little king, droning about community excellence. Karen clicked through pie charts about mailbox fonts. Arthur Vance sat front row smug and polished. Dana stood up midway through. "I have new business," she said calmly. Richard tried to cut her off. Not on the agenda, but she didn't stop. I walked to the projector and plugged in my laptop. The big screen behind him flickered, then froze on a still frame of Chad spray painting our walkway, face lit clear as day. The room gasped. I hit play. The full video rolled, timestamp and all. Then, over it, we played Karen's Facebook voice claiming new families were vandalizing property. The hypocrisy was deafening. Karen went pale. People started shouting. Mr. Henderson from down the block yelled that his sprinkler had been mysteriously broken right before a $300 fine. Maria from 2 streets over showed a dash cam video of a board member peeling her registration sticker before her car got towed. The crowd turned. The HOA's fear turned into fury. And then, the final nail. Dana tapped a new file. The room filled with Vance's own voice from our coffee cup mic. "Richard and I have a mutually beneficial arrangement," he said, smooth as ever. "He enforces standards. I offer cash solutions." Silence, then chaos. Richard slammed his gavel, shouting for order, but no one listened. Vance stood face tightening and pushed through the crowd toward me. He leaned close, hissed, "You've made your point. What's it going to take to make this go away?" I didn't answer. He opened his briefcase, stacks of hundreds inside. 50 grand, tomorrow 10 now. Say you were mistaken. Dana's phone was recording. Her small UV flashlight flicked on. The bills glowed blue, our markings shining bright. His eyes widened a fraction, then the patrol lights hit the window. 2 detectives stepped out from behind parked cars. "Mr. Vance," one said calm and firm, "we'd like to talk about bribery and extortion." He froze. The crowd poured outside, phones filming. Richard shouted something about misunderstanding, but it was over. They cuffed Vance beside his open briefcase. and as the officers turned to escort him away, Chad came sprinting out, red-faced and sobbing. He slipped on the wet grass, landed flat on his stomach, and started crying again, the same pitiful wail from the school hallway months before. Like father, like son. The Abernathys were arrested that night, Richard for fraud and conspiracy, Karen for evidence tampering. The HOA board dissolved within a week. Vance Development collapsed under investigation. And me, I didn't celebrate. I just stood on my porch, watching the patrol cars fade down the street, knowing we'd taken our home back inch by inch. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. Sometimes it clicks like handcuffs closing. Lesson: never underestimate quiet people with the truth and a camera.